Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 620 based on novel. So let's start. The center of the ancestral city, the Celestial Imperial Palace. In the early morning, when the first ray of light appeared over the horizon and pushed away the darkness, causing the palace to become visible, the various famous cultivators of the city and important officials all arrived. The title ceremony for the white-haired Ascendant Empyrean. This event had set off a storm in the ancestral city 7 days ago. Over the years, everyone who was qualified had heard about the white-haired Ascendant Empyrean. This title had also become very famous and well known over the years. All of the cultivation families came to the very large square after receiving permission from the Celestial Emperor to come to today's title ceremony. At this moment, the sun fell and a large amount of cultivators gathered. At a glance, there were no less than 10,000 cultivators. They all had extraordinary cultivation levels, and there were even Empyrean exalts among them. There were even some Ascendant Empyreans. Even at the Imperial Palace, these people received the respect of the people near them. In the early morning of this day, the transfer array outside the palace was being used constantly. The transfer array seemed to flicker non-stop as cultivators who came to see the ceremony arrived. These people went through the 9 doors and quickly walked toward the square before the Celestial Tao Temple. More and more cultivators arrived in the square before the Celestial Tao Temple. They were not loosely scattered, but arranged in a certain order. There were 3 locations that were empty for 1,000 feet. The cultivators at those 3 locations were 3 of the 4 kings of the ancestral city. In the square outside the Celestial Tao Temple, aside from the tens of thousands of guests who had come to watch, there were also 2 long rows of soldiers in black armor. These black-armored soldiers belonged to the imperial family and were only loyal to the emperor. Their cultivation levels weren't all that high and they only numbered 100,000. However, they had all mastered the ability to sacrifice their life force in exchange for a terrifyingly lethal force. Few people knew the specifics, but at this moment, the 2 rows of black-armored soldiers gave off a monstrous killing intent and coldness. These 2 rows seemed to cut open the square and directly extended beyond the 9 doors. Outside the square of the Celestial Tao Temple, there were 9 doors placed 100,000 feet apart from each other. In truth, they were 9 huge door-shaped buildings that were black and gave off a powerful killing intent. At the end of the last door, there was a flash as the Lee family members appeared. They went through the 9 doors and arrived at the square. The time is up, seal the 9 doors. Shortly after, a figure in green walked out from the temple. This was an old man who looked ordinary, but his eyes shined brightly. He looked around as he walked out from the temple. As his words echoed, the tens of thousands of people from the ancestral city all came and looked at the 9 doors of the square. Thunderous roars came from the 100,000 black-armored soldiers, and their roars linked together. The world changed colors and the earth trembled. The 9 doors gave off a strange, black light, and once the black light reached a certain density, they connected together to form a straight passage. This passage was made by the black light and the 100,000 black-armored soldiers looked amazing. At this moment, the tens of thousands of cultivators beside the square seemed to have stopped breathing. They looked at the passage formed by the 9 doors and also at the transfer light coming from the first door. There was a flash of light and then a calm young man in white with white hair walked out. Standing there, Wang Lin had his hands behind his back. The early morning wind caused his robe and white hair to flutter. In the wind, Wang Lin looked very young, but the tale of time was on his body. Even though his face remained young, his heart felt fatigue. As he walked forward, the tale of time slowly appeared. His gaze penetrated through the black passage formed by the 9 doors. He saw the tens of thousands of people in the distance and the towering grand palace behind them. Behind the palace, Wang Lin could vaguely see countless of such palaces. These palaces formed the Celestial Emperor's Imperial Palace. This palace was too big. Wang Lin couldn't see its end, but he could feel that there was an unimaginable restriction there. It wasn't active now, but if it was activated, the power would be heaven-shattering. Is the Celestial Imperial Palace? Wang Lin looked into the distance and saw a stone statue far away, but because it was so far away, it looked fuzzy. The statue seemed to be eternally looking at the sky. White-haired Ascendant Empyrean Wang Lin. A cold voice filled with majesty roared like thunder from the temple ahead and interrupted Wang Lin's thoughts. Wang Lin frowned. The person who spoke was the green-robed old man who had walked out from the temple. He looked through the 9 doors at Wang Lin in the distance. Wang Lin, every Ascendant Empyrean will be titled by His Majesty, but before the title ceremony, there needs to be a test. The test is these 9 doors. Once you walk through the 9 doors and stand before me, the title ceremony will begin. At that time, His Majesty will personally come to title you and the Imperial Teacher will come divinate your future. All your actions before the Celestial Tao Temple will be recorded and displayed across all the sects across the 72 continents. The old man's words were calm. When he finished, he closed his eyes and no longer paid any attention. However, all the cultivators, including the 4 kings, looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin stood there. He had heard about the title ceremony from the old man from the Li family. Every Ascendant Empyrean would indeed go through the 9 doors before the title ceremony. However, this was only a symbolic gesture. After all, Ascendant Empyreans were recognized by the celestial ancestor and had to pass the 10th palace. The doors were just a show of imperial power and, in fact, had no power, so one could simply walk through them. Wang Lin's gaze swept past the 9 doors and he saw the 2 long rows of black-armored soldiers. The soldiers only revealed their cold gazes that stared at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression didn't change under the gazes of the 100,000 black-armored soldiers. He acted on his own principles. If these 9 doors were normal, then it would be fine, but if there were hidden dangers, then Wang Lin wouldn't be polite. Wang Lin calmly walked toward the first door. He was not fast. When he was about to step into the first door, the 100,000 black-armored soldiers let out another roar. As the roar echoed, monstrous killing intent spread out from their bodies. They gathered to form an indescribable force that bombarded Wang Lin. This killing intent came from the slaughter these 100,000 people had participated in and was also connected to their suits of armor. All this killing intent gathered together made Wang Lin feel like he was not facing the 9 doors, but a slaughter celestial. Wang Lin frowned. What the 9 doors test is not cultivation, but killing intent. Since that's the case, I won't be polite. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he slowly closed them. When he opened his eyes again, his thunder essence true body released the power of the slaughter thunder. This force only existed within 100 feet of Wang Lin, but just this 100-foot space caused the passage formed by the 9 doors to rumble loudly. The passage before Wang Lin was suddenly pushed back 100 feet as if it could only retreat when facing Wang Lin's killing intent. Wang Lin didn't stop and continued to walk forward. However, with every step he took, the 100 feet of killing intent moved with him and the passage was constantly pushed back. Even the black-armored soldiers inside were shocked and involuntarily retreated. It was as if Wang Lin contained a shocking momentum, and this momentum contained enough killing intent to make one surrender without fighting. 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 100,000 feet. Wang Lin calmly walked forward 100,000 feet. There was no black light behind him, only the stone door. Before him, the passage formed by the black light that covered the remaining 8 doors became unstable as Wang Lin pushed it back. Roar! The black-armored soldier inside the black passage that had been pushed back 100,000 feet let out a third roar. The black light expanded and formed a black tiger before the temple. The tiger pounced at Wang Lin. All of you, back down! Wang Lin's eyes lit up and the heavenly bull tattoo on his face flashed. He then threw a punch with his right hand and the soul armor disappeared from his body. When this punch landed, the world rumbled and the tiger's shadow collapsed. The black passage formed by the remaining 8 doors collapsed along with the black light. The 100,000 black-armored soldiers all coughed out blood and were knocked back, but no one died. Wang Lin's pupils shrank an undetectable amount as he carefully looked at the 100,000 soldiers. He calmly walked past through the remaining 8 doors and arrived before the Celestial Tao Temple. His gaze sharply looked at the retreating old man in green. You also back down for me. Wang Lin coldly looked at the green-robed old man. The green-robed old man's eyes were filled with panic. He retreated several steps before everyone and his face turned green. He became angry from embarrassment and concluded Wang Lin won't dare to attack here. He stopped after 3 steps as he pointed at Wang Lin and began to shout. You! The green-robed old man had just started speaking when Wang Lin arrived before him. Wang Lin raised his right hand, grabbed the old man's clothes, and threw him aside. The old man let out a cry. He felt like he had been hit by an invisible palm as he flew several 100,000 feet away. Wang Lin greets the Celestial Emperor. Wang Lin clasped his hands before the Celestial Tao Temple. This place was still the Imperial Palace, and the other person was the Celestial Emperor. The respect he had to show was still necessary. The gazes of tens of thousands of cultivators all focused on Wang Lin. There were also the 100,000 soldiers. They silently pondered and coldly stared at Wang Lin. Among the 4 kings, aside from the Li mansion, the other 3 families all looked at Wang Lin differently. In particular, the 3 ancestors looked at Wang Lin with complicated and helpless gazes. After Wang Lin clasped his hands, the surroundings went silent. After a long time, a calm voice came from the Celestial Tao Temple. You pushed aside my official in charge of the title ceremony. How can it continue now? As the words echoed, the door to the Celestial Tao Temple silently opened inward, revealing what was inside. The depths of the temple had mountain-like stairs with a huge dragon throne that looked like a real dragon. The dragon's head was raised up and its eyes seemed to have spirit as it looked at Wang Lin, who was outside the temple. A middle-aged man wearing a royal robe and a crown was sitting on the dragon throne. He had a hand under his chin and his body was slightly tilted. He gave off an aura of pressure without being angry. Beside the middle-aged man stood a young man wearing rough clothes. The young man had white skin and thin eyes. He was holding 2 purple beads and they were turning in his hand. He had a smile on his face and his gaze was gentle as he looked at Wang Lin. But this gaze caused Wang Lin's blood to freeze. Under this gaze, he felt like he had entered a trance and saw a life-changing image. His heart was in chaos, but he soon recovered. His pupils shrank as he gazed at the rough-clothed young man. The young man's eyes were filled with a hint of shock. He smiled and nodded at Wang Lin. Imperial teacher Shang Xiandao. This name appeared in Wang Lin's mind when he saw the young man. Although he had never met him, but for someone to make him feel like he had sunk into reincarnation with just a gaze, it was likely the Imperial teacher. As for the Celestial Emperor sitting on the dragon throne, he looked the same as when Wang Lin saw him in the Empyrean trial. However, his majesty and pressure were much stronger now, as if he was part of the world. Everything in this world had to kneel under his gaze. Forget it, you are the #1 ascendant Empyrean, and that slave was not respectful to you. I won't make this matter difficult for you. Xiandao, you preside over the title ceremony, the Celestial Emperor sitting on the dragon throne said. Yes. The rough-clothed young man bowed slightly and walked toward the temple. It indeed is him. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. When the rough-clothed young man walked past Wang Lin, he smiled and nodded at Wang Lin. Then he looked at the tens of thousands of cultivators in the square. I'll preside over the title ceremony. Next is to sacrifice the blood to open the Celestial Tao. Imperial teacher Xiandao said as he pointed at the sky with his right hand. With this, a ray of red light flew off into the distance. At this moment, earth-shattering roars came from 99 corners of the palace. These roars sounded like the screams of beasts before death. Immediately after, 99 pillars of blood shot into the sky from the palace. Wang Lin could clearly see that the 99 blood pillars contained 99 different beast souls. Blood sacrificed to the Celestial. Kill 99 beasts and use their blood to open the ethereal Celestial Tao. Wang Lin calmly looked at all of this. The 99 blood pillars shot into the sky and caused the sky to turn blood-colored, then a door opened. The inside of the door was too chaotic to see where it led. The beast souls inside the blood pillars let out silent roars and disappeared into the void. Then the entire Imperial Palace was dead silent. At this moment, it wasn't the only place that was dead silent. All the old ancestors in the sects across the entire celestial clan were staring at the sky above the imperial palace. In the previous title ceremonies, aside from passing the 9 gates and the challenges from others, there was also the opening of the celestial Tao. This was using a blood sacrifice to lure foreign spirits here that would then be killed by the celestial emperor. The blood will scatter across the palace and the souls will be refined into a treasure given to the ascendant empyrean being titled. Wang Lin knew the details of this ceremony, so he was not surprised as he looked up at the sky. I wonder what kind of foreign beast this white-haired ascendant empyrean will get. Back then, when the blood sacrifice happened for ascendant empyrean Ming Dao, it was a sword-shaped spirit. The celestial emperor killed it and it turned into an extremely powerful sword. This is all a matter of luck. I wonder how this Wang Lin's luck will be. The surrounding cultivators all looked up and began to speculate in their hearts. At this moment, in the blood-colored sky, a lion-like beast flew out from the dark vortex. The lion-like beast had red eyes and its neck as a bloody mess. With a roar from it, a drop of golden blood fell. It seemed to be escaping in the unknown void when it was suddenly sucked away by the vortex and appeared here. Its appearance immediately caused the tens of thousands of cultivators below to cry out. Heaven Lion Beast. This is the Heaven Lion Beast the celestial ancestor sealed. It is rumored that the Heaven Lion continent was created from a Heaven Lion emperor. This beast doesn't have golden hair, so it's not an emperor, but it should still be an adult battle lion. As cries echoed, the imperial teacher, Zhong Xiandao, was calm. It was as if he knew this Heaven Lion would be lured out. The seal left by the ancestor makes it impossible for foreign beings that are too powerful to enter. If this lion wasn't injured, it wouldn't appear here. This Wang Lin's luck is good. A thunderous roar suddenly came from the sky. This roar shook one's heart and was enough to make mortals collapse. Even the weaker cultivators would tremble as if they had encountered their natural enemy. It was a lion's roar. The lion beast with the neck injury suddenly rushed out from the vortex. It was filled with confusion about this strange place. However, the confusion instantly dissipated and was replaced by panic. It was going to escape back through the vortex. But just at this moment, the celestial emperor's cold voice came from beside Wang Lin's ear. A Heaven Lion Beast. At the same time, the celestial emperor still maintained the position of holding his chin with one hand while his other hand waved. This wave caused a 5-colored flame to appear. It released a powerful heat wave as it shot toward the Heavenly Lion Beast. In the blink of an eye, the 5-colored flame turned into a 5-colored sea of fire and surrounded the wounded Heaven Lion Beast. A miserable roar echoed, followed by a large amount of blood that was like boiling oil scattering across the sky and falling into the palace. This was seen by all the surrounding cultivators, and their hearts trembled. It was unknown who kneeled first, but soon, all the cultivators outside the Celestial Tao Temple knelt on the ground. My Emperor's Celestial Might! My Emperor's Celestial Might! The voice of tens of thousands of people linked together like thunder and echoed through the palace. The power of the Celestial Emperor was displayed before the Celestial clan. Wang Lin silently pondered. He also could have killed the injured Heaven Lion Beast, but not as casually as the Celestial Emperor. He would have to use the soul armor and even borrow some power from the Avatar. Grand Empyrean, Wang Lin's expression was calm, revealing none of his thoughts. At this moment, the sea of fire dissipated and a strand of white hair fell from the sky. The appearance of the white hair caused the Imperial Teacher's eyes to narrow. Not only him, but even the Celestial Emperor sitting on the dragon throne suddenly looked up. He looked at the falling strand of white hair and there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. A white hair not even my extreme fire Tao can burn. This thing? Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange light. This white hair gave him a familiar feeling, but this feeling went by in a flash, like an illusion. Wang Lin charged into the sky without hesitation. The Celestial Emperor at the temple also raised his hand at the void. A giant hand made of 5-colored fire appeared and reached for the white hair. Wang Lin couldn't compete with the Celestial Emperor. The Celestial Emperor's 5-colored fire palm appeared before the hair and grabbed it. However, just at this moment, the five-colored fire palm trembled and the hair penetrated it as it continued to fall. Everyone saw this. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to appear beside the hair, and he grabbed it. Many thanks for the Celestial Emperor for bestowing this treasure. Wang Lin turned and bowed at the Celestial Dao Temple. The strand of hair fell into Wang Lin's hair, and the familiar feeling became even more clear. Wang Lin didn't know why, but this strand of hair felt like part of his body. This hair didn't bring him any kind of harm but looked like an ordinary strand of hair. The two ends drooped toward the ground, and it looked like a gust of wind would send it flying again. After a few breaths of silence, the Celestial Emperor's voice came from the Celestial Dao Temple. This is not something I was going to award you, but if you want it, you can have it. Wang Lin's thanks played a key role. After all, this was his title ceremony, and it was being witnessed by all the sects in the Celestial clan. In addition, the Heaven Lion Beast had been summoned in his title ceremony, so even if Wang Lin took the white hair, no one could say anything. The Imperial teacher Shang Xiandao looked at Wang Lin profoundly and spoke. The blood sacrifice is over. Now it's time for the last step of the title ceremony. Wang Lin, everyone here has the right to challenge you, but only 3 times. After 3 challenges, the Celestial Emperor will grant you the title. As the Imperial teacher's words echoed, the 3 ancestors of the 4 mansions all looked up. They were all old men and they were all ascendant Empyreans. One person wearing a red robe flew into the sky in a flash. He clasped his hands 1,000 feet away from Wang Lin. This old man will be the first challenger. I hope white-haired ascendant Empyrean can give me pointers. The old man's eyes revealed a gloomy gaze as he looked at Wang Lin. He didn't wait for Wang Lin to answer before he sat down in the sky. He raised his right hand and his whole body bulged. Strands of black gas came out from his body and condensed into a large black shadow before him. This black shadow seemed to be wearing black armor. Its face was a blur and its eyes were closed. However, its appearance caused the world to change colors and the clouds to scatter. Wang Lin, please teach me. The old man bit the tip of his tongue and spat out blood. The blood spread out like fog and entered the blood shadow. The shadow seemed to be stimulated by the blood, and its eyes were red. Muffled rumbles echoed as the black shadow raised the long, black lance in its right hand and rushed at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He didn't know who this person was, but from his position, he could tell that he was one of the 4 kings. The black shadow was filled with powerful strength, and it was closing in as if it was going to split the sky. Wang Lin didn't retreat. The heavenly bull tattoo on his face covered his body as he threw a punch. This punch landed on the black shadow's lance. The collision caused a thunderous rumble. During the rumble, Wang Lin slowly withdrew his hand, but the black shadow suddenly collapsed. The old man sitting there turned pale, but he clenched his teeth and hit his forehead. With this, he sacrificed his life force and even more intense, black gas came out of his body. As the black gas spread out, his face aged rapidly, as if he had just climbed out from his grave. The powerful, black gas gathered, and not only did it cause the black shadow to recover, it also condensed into a war horse. The horse hissed as it carried the black shadow and charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression toward the black shadow became more serious as it charged at him. He put his hand on his head and bent slightly backward before he swung back as if he was doing a headbutt. Heavenly Bull Charge. This caused the giant Heavenly Bull shadow to appear behind Wang Lin. The bull let out a roar and its 2 large horns collided with the black shadow. Rumble, 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 rumble. The black shadow and the war horse under it collapsed as if it could not withstand the force, instantly disintegrating. The heavenly bull penetrated the collapsing black shadow and flew directly toward Imperial teacher Shang Xiandao. All of this looked like a coincidence. As the heavenly bull rushed over, the Imperial teacher remained calm. His right hand moved as if he was divinating, then he pointed forward. This point touched the heavenly bull and the heavenly bull trembled violently. The Imperial teacher slowly opened his mouth and then the heavenly bull disappeared. Null is a kind of grand Tao. Because there is existence, it will become null once it is lost. Because there is existence, it will become none once it is lost. What had happened was exactly the same as his words. Wang Lin's pupils shrank violently. At that moment, he felt an extremely terrifying fluctuation from the imperial teacher. This was an extremely high degree of enlightenment toward Tao. The heavenly bull dissipated and the black shadow the old man had sacrificed his life force to create also dissipated. He looked like he had aged a lot and had a bitter smile as he clasped his hands at Wang Lin. He didn't speak but flew back to his family. The second. The imperial teacher smiled while standing before the celestial Tao temple. However, just after he spoke, he frowned. Not only him, Wang Lin also looked into the distance. The cultivators below all noticed their gazes and looked over too. They all frowned. HMPH, you all have guts. This lively of an event is going on and you didn't invite this king. You. Do I still existed in your eyes? Little red, little green, little white, little blue, open the path for this king. The transfer array outside the 9 doors flashed and a crowd of people walked out. The person leading these people was a young man wearing a flower shirt and holding a fan in his hand. His face was filled with anger and he was waving fan, causing his hair to rapidly flutter. Beside him, Shuligua's face was deathly pale, as if just being here made his face pale. The young man in green was also pale, and he grabbed the young man in the flower shirt. He spoke in almost a begging tone. My king, this is the imperial palace. What does the imperial palace count as? I'm the king. The young man in the flower shirt was very dissatisfied with the young man in green and threw him forward. Little Red, bring out the majesty you showed when you went to the Li mansion. Otherwise, this king will punish you. The young man in the flower shirt walked forward and kicked Shuligua in the butt. Shuligua trembled as he was stared at by tens of thousands of cultivators. He clenched his teeth and walked forward as if he was going to give it his all. However, he soon coughed out a mouthful of blood and held his butt as he fell. He twitched a few times and then remained motionless. Oh? Is he dead? The young man in the flower shirt looked down at his feet and was puzzled. Wang Lin was standing in the air, looking at the young man in the flower shirt. His appearance had changed, but he immediately recognized him as the madman. The young man in the flower shirt fanned with all his strength as he circled Shuligua's motionless body and kicked him a few more times. HMPH, pretending to be dead. You dare to pretend to be dead before this king? Let me tell you, this king has encountered a guy pretending to be dead before. Who was he? He pondered for a long time but couldn't think of anything. He forgot about Shuligua and walked forward in big steps with an arrogant expression. All the cultivators who saw him frowned bitterly and avoided him. Greetings, my king. Greetings, my king. These voices echoed as he walked. The young man in the flower shirt was very proud and was still muttering. The young man in the flower shirt stopped before the old man who had attacked Wang Lin. His eyes widened and he immediately began to roar, "Why are there so many people here? Could it be that my brother is picking a concubine? Hey, old man Luo, why do you look so much older? You look like you were beaten up. Who would dare to bully my family's little flower's grandfather? I'm going to teach him a lesson. Old man Luo, tell me who beat you up." The young man in the flower shirt rolled up his sleeve and continued to roar. Was it him? It must have been him. I already don't like him. He is clearly old but pretends to young. It must be you. I'm going to strangle you. The young man in the flower shirt pointed at the frowning imperial teacher and rushed over as if he was going to strangle him. Seeing that he was about to rush over, the youth following this young man grabbed the young man's leg. King. He is the imperial teacher. Master, let us go back. The youth's face was pale, and no matter how much the young man in the flower shirt shook his leg, he didn't let go. He bullied Little Flower's grandfather. How can I let him go? Little servant, you're not going to let go? Okay, I'll take you with me. The young man in the flower shirt vigorously dragged the youth while revealing a ferocious expression. It looked like he was going to strangle the imperial teacher no matter what. As Wang Lin looked at the madman below, he revealed a complicated expression. He had come to the ancestral city to see if this old friend still recognized him. He watched him continue to fan while dragging the youth toward the imperial teacher. Shuligua, who had fallen on the ground, opened his eyes. He looked at the young man in the flower shirt in the distance but then closed his eyes without hesitation. Dao Fei. Just as the young man in the flower shirt was dragging the youth toward the imperial teacher and had raised his hand to strangle the imperial teacher, the celestial emperor's helpless voice echoed from the celestial Dao temple. "What are you doing? You're choosing a concubine and you didn't tell me. You're too much." The young man in the flower shirt viciously looked at the celestial emperor sitting on the dragon throne. "Dao Fei, don't make a fuss. Today is your benefactor's title ceremony. Why don't you go greet him?" The celestial emperor's words contained a gentle force that pushed the madman a few hundred feet from the imperial teacher. "Benefactor?" The young man in the flower shirt was startled. This video will end here.